So I'm here with Charles. Charles, will you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Charles Reiser. I work with Blue Ribbon Restaurants, director of IT, I guess we don't have titles, so.
I love it. So what's your day-to-day look like?
Mostly, handling managers, helping them out, getting them over the fact that they didn't actually read the training that I gave out.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's hands-on. It's really assisting the managers with getting their jobs done, getting through the day and keeping technology running for them.
I know the projects you have going, and you're always kind enough to talk to me about your thoughts on different vendors and solutions in the space.
Yes.
But for people who don't know you, would you talk a little bit about some of the projects that you're managing right now?
Oh yeah. We're working through tableside payment is the one that's on the top of my plate right now.
Okay.
Followed closely by, time and attendance. We're doing multiple methods for implementing scheduling and a time clock, using TimeForge. We're also working through a couple POS ideas that the operations team has thrown around.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, how that's going to work for us and if it meets the needs of Blue Ribbon. We have kind of unusual needs because of the way our operation works. With the sushi, we've got multiple kitchens. We've got, specific flows of service, the way the staff, gets the food to the table, the way the customer orders it. All of that affects how everything, needs to show up, when it needs to show up and where it needs to show up.
Is in itself a pretty unique brand, right?
Yes.
And then I love getting to work with you because you have a non-traditional CIO type background. So would you talk a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I started out in the business cooking, actually as a dishwasher in my teens. Got into cooking, enjoyed it, went to CIA, realized there were great chefs and everybody else, and I was not in the great chef category. So I got into management. By the 2000s, I was kind of burnt out, and I was always the guy who fixed all the technology. Because of personal interests in technology, I got into point of sale at that point. My beginning was with PosiTouch.
Okay.
And I spent most of my time in POS working for a PosiTouch dealer in New Jersey. The last days of PosiTouch, essentially. And then I moved on to do some consulting for some clients in the New York area, people that I knew. And eventually I wound up at Blue Ribbon full time. So.
What's your favorite dish at a Blue Ribbon location?
The oxtail fried rice.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, that was good.
I hate to say it, but I eat it like once a month at this point. And that's holding myself back from eating it more often.
Yeah.
So it's a joke when I go to the restaurants. I'm like, hey, I want to order some food to go. Oxtail fried rice?
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about the projects that we're working on together.
Yeah.
So for Blue Ribbon, TimeForge is primarily, I think you were initially talking about timekeeping and making sure that we were solving scheduling, especially at the restaurants that were really, really struggling with their existing solutions.
We have been using HotSchedules. They really don't do things that, Blue Ribbon makes use of. The forecasting tools are there, but we don't make use of them. We have kind of unusual payroll needs. We're usually running on off hours at minimum staff, and you really can't have less people than we already have. So, forecasting labor doesn't really work, when you're already at that number.
Right.
And, it's an artifact of being in Manhattan. You're either busy and the restaurant is packed from 5 until, midnight, or, there's no one there at all.
Right.
It's extremes. The scheduling, for us is becoming more important. We've had a change in the dynamics of the restaurants as to how things are working, especially in the places outside of Manhattan. Scheduling is clearly becoming a big issue. Miami is a big one. Miami's incredibly seasonal. We weren't really utilizing the tools of HotSchedules. So, my goal was to get something fresh in, get something that integrates much better with our point of sale that we use, which you guys do, gives us a better, tool to push to the managers to help them do their jobs properly. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah. What we talked a long time before actually getting to the point where we're going to
Yeah.
hey, let's do it. And it's the right time. Everyone's comfortable. Everyone's on it. We're about to be because it's starting to become a strong enough pay point. And now we've been, we implemented, we're still stabilizing some of the training because I remember one of the first calls, you're like, man, this is a lot of hands-on.
Yeah.
Right. And Diego does an amazing job making, train, retrain, make
Yeah.
sure everyone's fully comfortable with what the system does and how to use it. We're kind of at the tail end of that with the first few restaurants.
Yeah.
What about the process were you not expecting?
What I started to notice in the last 2 installs was that the training is less important now. You guys have great documentation. There's excellent, utilities. We have the videos from the earlier training. And what I found is that just handing the guys, here's the help site, get going. And, some of it's intuitive, but, the help documents were a great benefit. One of the things that I know HotSchedules has it, but it's not easy to get to and it's hard to find training on specific subjects on their portal. I didn't have that problem with yours. I went on a few times to check some things. It took me right to the topic of, I want to do this, and here's a how-to on it. So that's been really helpful. And I think the idea of not even having a formal training going forward for the remaining stores is a feasible way to proceed at this point. We may just have a couple, you guys touch base with the store managers, answer some of their questions, and they kind of get going on their own, that's the ultimate in self-service that I like.
Excellent. Yeah, that's always our goal, is to make it easy enough, right? And it's designed from the end user's perspective, right? We're constantly building based on feedback from locations.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing I could possibly hear, especially with my technical writing background. Like, screenshot step by step done.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done a ton of those myself because I found that that's the best way to teach someone at the store level. This is what you need to do. You give step by step. You throw plenty of pictures up. I got a manual full of those.
Yeah.
And that's been a big help. They fit along with the way I do it as well. So, this has been a great way to get them onboarded properly.
What kind of feedback are you hearing from the employees?
All positive. They write emails, they ask for help, and you guys are responding within, an incredibly reasonable amount of time. Sometimes minutes, sometimes a little longer, but they're definitely handled. You guys have a good sense of priority as to, what needs immediate help and what is an answer you can give tomorrow, which is always great from a vendor. You want that.
Yeah,
So,
that's excellent. Yeah, we have a really experienced team.
Yeah.
I think that empathy is what drives that, right? Like,
Yep.
Do they have customers stacked up behind and they're struggling? Like, let's get on the phone and solve this versus, they don't seem to care. It's okay. It can wait till tomorrow. Let's solve it. So FS Tech was packed full of information.
Yeah.
What do you think is the next big trend in restaurant technology that nobody's talking about? And don't say the words AI.
That no one's talking about, although they did kind of talk about it this morning, is really about the third-party delivery services. I'm concerned about what they're doing and the direction they're going, and it may not be, in the best interests of the restaurants necessarily. It's a tough space to be in. Like in New York, they've restricted them to a maximum of 15% on their sites, but they kind of have ways to work around that, because you look at the effective rate, it's way above 15% compared to the actual rate that they put on paper.
Playing number games.
Yeah, which is always problematic. I see a lot of the pain. I mean, the big thing, I noticed recently, because someone brought it up, saying they were having a problem with integration. And I started looking, and I started to notice how often the stores are shutting the integration off during service. Now, this is a common thing for sushi. Sushi's not like regular food. During service, if you're cooking something in the kitchen, you can pretty much guarantee that at the peak of service, its preparation time will be, only maybe minutes longer than at a closed time of the day. But for sushi, the preparation time just gets longer and longer. And you got to prioritize customers in the restaurant. So they're shutting down the delivery service or extending the delivery hours to slow down orders.
Interesting. Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone, I mean, there's tools to do this. Why isn't anyone doing predictive hours on delivery? Delivery does get slower. You go to a reservation, you show up at the restaurant, and when it's really busy, they'll tell you a 20-minute wait. When it's not, you'll get seated right away. Yeah. Deliveries are kind of the same way.
Interesting. Now I want to play with that data and see what our forecaster does with it.
Yeah.
So FS Tech just wrapped up. Was there any technology that you saw that you are stoked about, or was there any big takeaway from any of the sessions?
Most of the sessions they were talking about AI.
Yeah, they were.
The only thing I got out of that was, okay, I'm not the only person who thinks AI is creepy. I'm fine dining. I don't think about AI. I think about AI as tools to help the staff do their job behind the scenes, not exposed to the customer.
That's fair. I think a lot of people landed at that conclusion after a lot of the sessions was, hey, this is to help people, not replace people.
Yeah. It's to help them do their job better so that we have better customer service, and they're not doing, our biggest issue is the waiter wrote down the wrong item, misunderstood the guest, and delivered the wrong item to the table. Everyone's allergies today. There are so many things in Asian cuisine that people are allergic to. That's a big deal. How do we address that? I'd love that. To have something that helps staff take orders better.
Yeah, we were joking when we went to dinner that there was a mic under the table, right?
Yes, it was kind of the same thing. I wouldn't say overly informative about the things you couldn't eat. Yeah, considering we had someone at the table who was gluten intolerant,
right.
It was just, okay.
Anyone who maybe wanted to connect with you, if one of your projects resonated with them, if they're facing similar challenges you described, how should they reach out? LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, I am very open to accepting pretty much anyone as a connection. So
awesome. All right.
You don't even have to be in the food service industry. I get so many people I know who are not.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I'm really satisfied with what you guys are doing for us. It's been a real positive for Blue Ribbon, I think. And this is the thing I've noticed around, TimeForge and what I'm getting from, my North Star, my POS vendor, is I'm getting more, what will make this work for you? How do we make this work for you? And less, we don't do that, which is what I get from most vendors. Yeah, that's important, because I am in a niche market. I'm supporting a 14-store chain that's not really a chain. It's actually 14 independent restaurants, and they have special needs, and I need to figure out how to accommodate those. And you guys have been great on that. So,
well, I find it really refreshing when I'm working with you and with the teams at the store, because you have all A players. Like, you're an A player. Every manager I work with is an A player. A lot of vendors, it's really easy when they get detached from what it's like working in the store.
Yes.
Or if they're working with non-A players who have strong opinions that are wrong, because that happens, right? That happens. It's really easy for vendors to kind of be like, as you described, oh yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. Our heart, right, for TimeForge, and I know that CBS is the same way, it's around enabling and empowering restaurants to do what they want to. And man, it's so easy to do that when you've got A players who are going, no, this is why it needs to work this way, make it happen. It just makes our lives as vendors so much easier.
Yeah. I think it strengthens the product too, because I can't believe that, we're the only sushi concept who does things the way we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Even QSR, I've gotten some, assistance for accommodating, what we do, especially. They haven't written the software, but, they've helped show me how to adapt existing functionality to kind of make it look like it's doing exactly what I need it to do.
Yeah. Well, it is all, I also appreciate our relationship, because our software has grown based on feature. We started out as a scheduling system, and now we've got like 20 different modules that you can pick from or pair, right?
Yeah.
And that's all based on a restaurant calling us and going, yeah, scheduling's awesome, and it's useless if you don't know my sales data.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, scheduling is awesome, and it's useless if people can't clock in. So we appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.